Come and knock on our door.
Where have you been?
Oh, hello. We're glad you chose to knock on our door, where you'll see that life is a ball again. Laughter is calling for you. And at the center of the most iconic Three's Company was the one and only John Ritter. But John was already set up pretty comfy in another hit show, so why did he leave the Waltons? And just how much did he make on Three's Company that caused such a stir for the cast? I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick, with these answers and more, including the entertainment royalty that John came from, and exactly what show he was in the middle of shooting when he died, when his terrible fate took him away from all of us far too soon. If you enjoy our John Ritter deep dive, please give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a video. But without further ado, let's go answer that door. Was Tex Ritter John's father? John's early life is a mixed bag of greatness and hardship. On the one hand, he started out with a birth defect that basically put a hole in his eye. It's a fairly rare condition that affects 1 in every 10,000 births and can really impair their vision. But on the other hand, the guy comes from entertainment royalty.
Not forsake me, oh my darling.
His dad was a singing cowboy country music hall of famer who reigned supreme from the 1930s to the 60s. John's mom was Dorothy Faye, an actress we saw in plenty of westerns. On top of that, John, a California native, attended a place called Hollywood High School. Writings on the wall with this story, which makes it surprising he started off studying psychology and politics. But soon, John caught the acting bug and even performed in plays while traveling abroad. How many times was John Ritter on the Waltons? John had a great start in the TV world with the Burt Reynolds-led Dan August, where he happened to meet a guy named Norman Fell. Sprinkle in a few guest appearances in Hawaii Five-0 and MASH, and he was qualified to climb Walton's Mountain. It was a blessed time with John playing Reverend Matthew Fordwick. He was prominent enough that you remembered his character, but not so present that he was tied to that show. But the Waltons did even more for him. Remember, the Waltons set the bar for good, wholesome content, so much so that George H.W. Bush urged families to be more, quote,
make American families a lot more like the Waltons and a lot less like the Simpsons.
The Reverend was pretty much the embodiment of that, and series creator Earl Hamner Jr. was just amazed by John and how he made that character his own, saying, quote, I'm proud that was one of John's first roles in Hollywood. According to Hamner, John was able to make all workplace tension disappear with laughter, and his colleagues weren't the only ones fawning over Reverend John. For all his fame, Papa Tex actually believed that acting was, quote, not something a man should do with his life. Well, tell that to his 70-plus movies. So Tex wasn't exactly thrilled his son wanted to be an actor. Tex didn't think acting was respectable, but he did think John's role was. This was enough to give father and son some closure before Tex passed. Why did John Ritter leave the Waltons? It's thanks to John Ritter that Mary McDonnell started journaling. He saw her struggles that no one else did and suggested the way to cope. In just 18 episodes, John Ritter made a huge impression on the Waltons cast, influencing Mary and goofing off a lot with Richard Thomas, a comedy act in their own right. But Walton's Mountain would just be a stepping stone, one that Earl Hamner is very proud of, and all good things must come to an end. This was a good thing for John though. He dabbled in the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Bob Newhart Show, because he loved that fun kind of comedy better than the straight cut stuff. It suited his personality better, his acting craft better. In fact, comedies from MTM Enterprises are pretty much responsible for John realizing what he really wanted to do, sitcoms. How old is John Ritter on Three's Company? If you know our channel, you know we've already gone into extensive detail about the secrets behind Three's Company, so check it out if you haven't. But did you know there was some steep competition for the role of Jack Tripper? Some talented other contenders, including Billy Crystal, future Friends director Michael Limbeck, and Barry Van Dyke, the son of legendary Dick Van Dyke. Once that was done, they actually shot different pilots, made by a MASH writer-producer, then another by the All in the Family and Jefferson's writer. But a third iteration was the one. So, Three's Company premiered on March 15th, 1977. By that point, John was 28 years old and embarking on TV history.
Good evening.
Good morning.
Good Lord, is it morning?
No exaggeration. Three's Company and Charlie's Angels are responsible for something called Jiggle TV, a term coined by the ABC marketing strategy. You know, a lot of innuendos and scantily clad women. If you ask John, he begs to differ and says, quote, "As sexy as it was fairly moral. Those three roommates were very loyal, compassionate, and most of the time considerate good friends. But above everything, John proved he was the slapstick god. His physical comedy was just the best in the business. Think Robin Williams, think Steve Martin." And John was with Three's Company through some big personal milestones. His first marriage to actress Nancy Morgan, and for the 1980 birth of his first kid, Jason. And Jason also got his first acting gig on Three's Company, as he is the little 1-year-old who runs up to Janet at the zoo. The kid was already improvising like Dad, since that shot was not scripted. He just wandered in from his mom, walked into frame, and they loved it. And Jason and his brother Tyler are also very talented actors. What was John Ritter's salary on Three's Company? Three's Company was quite the moneymaker. Of all the cast members, John was the only one to appear in every episode from start to finish. And he was the comedic star power behind the show, and the lead man. And for this, he earned a whopping $150,000 per episode. Very, very big back then, but the numbers have only gone up over the years. These days, Ed O'Neill from Married with Children raked in $500,000 per episode for Modern Family. So it's even more shocking when Suzanne Summers, who of course brought in tons of fans, only made $30,000. So when it came time to renegotiate, ABC offered a raise of $5,000. Summers wanted the same salary as John, plus 10% of the show's profits. While Summers stuck to her guns, her two co-stars weren't so eager to shake things up, and a deep fissure grew between them. So when Suzanne's contract expired, she was not invited back. While Three's Company carried him through his first marriage, a few projects planted the seeds for his second. John and actress Amy Yasbeck worked together multiple times in Problem Child, The Cosby Show, and Wings, and the two tied the knot in 1999. What set was John Ritter on when he died? An Emmy and a Golden Globe later, it's hard to believe John wasn't done making TV greatness. As Summers recalls it, quote, "Close to half the people in America who were watching TV were watching Three's Company. There was a quick misstep with the one-season sequel, Three's a Crowd, but by the early 2000s, John was back at it, with 8 simple rules for dating my teenage daughter."
Paul, that shirt is hideous.
Thanks. You think it'll bug Carrie?
Another huge moment for his career, and he got to partner with the great Katie Sagal, while the show also launched Kaylee Kuko to national fame. But no matter how much of a big shot John was, the mailman who delivered to the studio says John always said hello to him. John also made sure rising star Kaylee felt at home. At just 16 years old, she remembered reading her script when John walked in, took off his jacket, and put it on her. He said, "Cover up, I'm not letting you leave dressed like that." That's when Kaylee knew she had not just a TV dad, but a real one too. And it was during the filming of 8 Simple Rules when John fell violently ill. He had chest pain and threw up. He was rushed to the hospital and brought in for emergency care. And tragically, John Ritter was pronounced dead on September 11th, 2003. John was just 54 years old when he died, left behind 4 kids and his second wife, Amy. who actually filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the doctors. It was for $67 million, but John's family ultimately lost again. But Jason Ritter is determined to keep his dad's legacy alive, even if it does give him stage fright at times. Joyce DeWitt said John Ritter was all about not taking life too seriously. That attitude was infectious, as she puts it, quote, "There were days we went home from rehearsal with our cheeks sore from laughing. John Ritter has been called the most natural actor since Jimmy Stewart, and he always tried to brighten everyone's day, whoever that might be. John, rest in peace, you comedic genius." Who was your favorite character from Three's Company? Did you watch 8 Simple Rules? What is the best John Ritter film role? Get in the comments and tell me some good John Ritter memories. And before you leave, hit that thumbs up icon if you don't mind. And subscribe to our channel so you never miss a memory. But from all of us here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you for watching.